Without further ado, this man has 13 wins and 11 knockouts, undefeated in the amateur league. And what a story he has to tell. He's 20 years old, the incredible Moses Itauma. There you go, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for coming down, Moses.
Thank you.
So you've just been in Nigeria, right?
Okay.
How was that? What was your take from it?
So going to Nigeria, it was like one of my sponsors is Bet Niger, and like my father, I'm half Nigerian, half Slovak. My father's from Nigeria, and one of the big thing was with Bet Niger was to kind of rediscover or rekindle my relationship back with Africa, and they definitely done that. It was an interesting week. I had a lot of fun. I was out there doing a bit of charity work. I was also out there doing a bit of like a homecoming sort of thing. To be honest, like I was saying to my brother that I need to kind of make it a necessity to go there like a couple times a year. So
how did the people react when you were there?
Honestly, like I just got so much love. Like it didn't even feel real. Like it's even like, obviously Nigeria's kind of got so much talent in the music world, in the boxing world, and even like me, like I'm not like, obviously I haven't achieved the stuff that some of these boxers, athletes, musicians have achieved from Nigeria, but like I felt like I did, and even when I got off the plane, there was like to me. I had my belts with me, and the security guard went, "Are these your belts?" And I said, "Yeah." That was like, "Are you Nigerian?" And I said, "Yeah." Or my father is. I was like, "We're proud of you." I was like, "They ain't heard my story. They don't know nothing. But it's just the fact that I'm Nigerian and I'm doing well." I was like, "We're proud of you." And that's like one thing that I ain't really heard. Like, even though I was on the phone to my mum, I was like, I've always been repping Slovakia. I'm like, been repping Slovakia, but ain't no one shook my hand in Slovakia. So it was just more of a case where like, I think Nigeria are very proud and happy people. And I think even my mum could admit that as well.
You were working with some kids in the gyms, is that right? What were you doing there?
So we basically, there's a gym in Nigeria or in Lagos that was kind of like run down. And like we partnered with Bet Niger to kind of just like rebuild the boxing gym, because obviously there's a lot of talent and a lot of energy in Nigeria that's untapped.
So some of those kids you were working with and you were sort of training, they were the same age as you when you started boxing. Could you tell us how you got involved?
How did I got involved in boxing? I don't know if anyone's from Kent around here.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. So Chatham, for example, they had there was a sports college called Green Acre Academy, which is now Waterslade Boys and Girls School, I believe. And there was like, I think we counted, it must be like 13 national champions, Youth Olympic gold medals and world champions and whatnot. Just like a very boxing originated school. And my brother happened to be in a classroom, Carol Talma over there, just to let you know, guys, put some eyes on him. He happened to be in the classroom with 2 or 3 other boxers, and they kept talking about boxing, My brother wanted to kind of, he wanted to get into that boxing talk. So they said, "Why don't you join a local boxing gym?" So he went to the boxing gym, became a national champion. They just basically said to me, "Why don't you do it?" And I started, done the first couple sessions. I threw up, black eye, bloody noses, and I was like, "You know what, this sport's not for me." So I stopped playing. I stopped boxing, and I started playing a little bit of football. Noticed I wasn't very good at that, so I was like, "Let me go back to boxing."
In those early days, did people see the talent in you at that point, or did it take a while for that to come through?
I wouldn't say I was like the most talented kid. I even remember asking my amateur coaches, like, who's the most talented fighter to walk through the doors? And I was at number 6 or 7. So it wasn't like, I was like mad talented. It's just like I was just consistent. I've been doing this sport for more than half my life. I was 20 years old now. I started boxing when I was 9 years old, so I've been doing it for 11 years. And all the fighters that I grew up with, they were a lot more talented than me, but they're not here today because they chose like the party life and well, they chose life outside of boxing. And I just kind of knew that if I put all my energy in boxing, I can kind of get somewhere. So that's what I did, and now we're here.
So if you forward wind a few years, did you have a growth spurt at some point that made you, that sort of in the early days that sort of, made you a bit more of a
do you know what it is? I don't know where it was, but I believe it was like when I was 13 or 14.
Yeah.
I went to Egypt for a week, and I gained like 12 kilo. And like, I came back and I could not lose the weight. And like, everyone was like, I walked through the gym doors again, and I was like, who's this? Do you get what I mean? Like, and then, funnily enough, like, because it was me, my mum, and my other brother, Samuel. And then, like I said, went on holiday, whatnot, put on like 12 kilo, then went to the gym, and then the year later, we went with my other brother who was unable to go because of his boxing. So we went with, it was me, there was all three of us now, and my mum. Then I went and put another 10 kilos on, and I came back and I couldn't lose the weight. So, I think it must be in Egypt. I must have grown somewhere. So I must have done all my growing in Egypt somewhere.
How much did your brothers challenge you in your boxing in the early days so that you were, you had to come up a level?
It wasn't. I wouldn't even say that it was challenging. Like I never looked at my brothers and like thought like, yeah, that's a challenge. I'm gonna try to do better. It was never that. It was more of a. I think in the gym there was more of like a brotherhood, and it wasn't rather than I'm trying to do better than the person on the left or right of me. It was like, let me uplift the person on the left and the right, and obviously I was also in that circle, and I also got uplifted. So it wasn't really a challenge, but more kind of like a uplift that we gave to each other. And I mean, I wish I could be able to sit here with all the guys that I grew up with, but they just chose a different path, and obviously I chose this one, and obviously it pays off.
At what point did you start getting invitations to spar with some bigger players?
Do you know, it actually came during COVID, when amateur boxing was at a standstill, and there was nothing going on in amateur boxing, and professional boxing was still going behind closed doors, and obviously fighters still had to prepare for world titles and whatnot. And Lawrence Okolie was preparing for his first national title. I don't know if you guys know who Lawrence Okolie is. He was preparing for his first world title, and he needed some southpaw sparring. For you guys that don't know, southpaw is like meant to be left-handed, so your right hand or right foot's forward, and orthodox is left foot forward. And he needed southpaw sparring. I was a southpaw myself, but my brother went to spar, and they was like, "Oh, we need some more sparring." They said, "Oh, my brother can spar as well," but I was 14 at the time, and Lawrence was like, "What am I doing sparring a 14-year-old? I'm about to prepare for a world title." And then there was like, "Trust me, just put the gloves on." And I put the gloves on, and we had some interesting rounds, and then they kept asking me to come back, so I was just like, "Ah, cool." And then obviously he kind of spreaded my word onto Anthony Joshua, Joyce, and then I just kind of became known like the 16-year-old going around like bashing all these heavyweights up. And then it even got so far, then Frank Warren, like, he kind of heard all the stories and seen some of the videos. He was like, "We need to get this boy." And then, yeah, now I'm here.
Is it true you used to turn up to sparring in your school uniform?
Yeah, so it was actually, I done it one time, and it was against Joyce. And I remember I had a science exam, and I went to school, I done my science exam, but the night before, my coach rang me, "Do you want to spar Joyce?" And I was like, "Yeah, all right, cool," but obviously I ain't got time to go home or whatnot, because Joyce's gym was northwest London, and obviously Kent is southeast of England. He said, "We don't have enough time to go home, just get your boxing stuff and take it to school." So I took my boxing stuff to school. I left it at the PE department, and then my coach, he picked me up from school and took me to sparring. I just turned up in my school uniform. Everyone was just looking at me like, "What's going on?" I believe Joyce he was scheduled to fight Usyk, but he didn't end up fighting him. But I was actually preparing him for Usyk, and I just finished my science exam. Do you know what I mean? So So I turned up. I remember yawning in the ring, and then Steve, who was his coach, he was like, "Oh, you tired?" I said, "Yeah, I had a science exam." And he just started laughing. He was like, "What are you doing sparring Joyce?" And then, anyways, the rounds were interesting. I don't want to say too much. And then yeah, that was kind of the story.
So when you're sparring with those guys, at that young age, were you beating them? Were you giving them a hard time? How were they feeling about it?
See, I can't talk about sparring stories, but it gave me a lot of confidence. It gave me a lot of confidence. It gave me a lot of confidence. So I can tell you all I've got to say. Obviously, sparring stories, they're like, you shouldn't really be talking about them, but like I said, it just gave me the confidence to kind of go into the pro ranks.
Talk us through the decision to go from amateur to being professional. Did you discuss that with your family?
No, it was kind of a decision that I kind of made myself. It was just I remember boxing in the World Championships. It was in Benidorm. I had 4 fights in 1 week, and when it came to the finals, it was this is what I've been working for over 7 years. It's it's the World Championships. Best fighters in the world are here, and I've just currently beat all the best fighters coming up, and I felt no excitement, no buzz off it. And I was just I think I need a little bit of a switch up. I need a bit of a change. So I was I think it's going to be time for me to turn professional after this. And then, yeah, I did after the World Championships.
What was the biggest shift you noticed when that happened then? What started to change in your life?
Probably the media. All of a sudden, I went from a kid that had no attention to now all the lights are on you. And I have to grow up in front of the world now. I'm here, I'm 20 years old, I'm still making very silly mistakes. And I kind of have to talk about I have to express what's going on. But I'm not this polished kind of person, but I guess I kind of have to put on a smile sometimes, only because the cameras are on. So I'll probably say that's probably the difference. The medias are kind of on me.
So when you're in the ring, has that level of professionalism had to step up significantly from where you were?
Oh, 100%. I remember my old trainer, he used to say boxing's like the 4 corners of truth. And what he meant by that was if you miss one thing in boxing, it's going to show. So it was your technical work, your rest and recovery, your diet, and your strength and conditioning. It was if you miss any one of those things, then it's going to show in the ring. So I just kind of made it that I was I don't want anything to show. And one of my driving factors was I'd never want to be embarrassed. Going into a fight, you get really lonely. It gets very scary. It's all the people that were behind you, and they are behind you, can't actually help you. So it's just you and this other man that's trying to knock you out. And it's you kind of have to get to them before they get to you. And no matter how early it is in my career or how late it is in my career, I don't want to ever say that another man was able to beat me up.
Let's talk about the knockouts. Let's talk about the precision for a second. It's very clear that some of these shots are going out extremely fast. Do you know the speed of your punches?
Nah, but I was a little bit annoyed because I've had some really good knockouts, and I was I didn't show that today, but maybe next time.
The next one. What's going through your mind, when you're playing a fighter? Sometimes you slow down, you go high, you go low, you step back. There's a lot going on, and it's a much bigger game plan. As you say, chess, I think you said once. What are you thinking about as that's happening?
When you step in the ring, it's kind of weird because it's you kind of lose all your senses. You don't really hear much. It's just kind of you and that person, and all that's in my mind is just kind of sticking to the game plan. And not getting too eager. As being in a professional ring, it's amateur sport is boxing, and professional sport or professional boxing is a fight. You need to kind of learn how to deal with everything. It's not even just throwing punches itself. It's kind of everything outside. So like, for example, I might be fighting, I might land a good punch, now the crowd's cheering, and I don't need to, I can't play into that because I ain't got no tank left. Like, I don't wanna like overexert my energy. So it's like just the little things like that, and like even having like that selective hearing. Like when I boxed Marius Wack, I don't know why, I always heard like my best friend that I grew up with, Tyrone, I just heard his voice. And his voice isn't the voice I need to hear right now. So I was just like, it was annoying hearing his voice when I had like my coaches try like screaming and banging on the canvas. And like, it's so much to kind of play to it, and it's just them little 1% that get you that victory.
You've talked about not letting the voices of other people get in your head as well. You know, a lot of people have got commentary. They always want to say something about, you should do this, you should do that. You know, and you've said, actually, that's not for me. Could you talk a bit about that?
Sorry, say that one more time.
So, you know, in terms of, everyone's got an opinion about how Moses should box, or what you should do, or are you as good as this person? You've said before, you're not interested in those opinions because you're just trying to stay focused.
Yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of, I wouldn't even say fighters, just athletes in general kind of ruin their careers because they're listening to opinions that are not for them. So like, for example, commentators and pundits, they're for the general public. Like, boxers got to do what they got to do. So I never kind of listen to what the pundits or the commentators say, because that's to let the general public know. And sometimes I don't want to be calling shots, but I don't think the pundits like are as I don't want to say anything like kind of rudely, but I don't think they're as clued up as some people make out to be, and like it gets a little bit annoying. It does get a little bit annoying, but I mean, I'm not gonna like waste that time like argue with them, because like they say they like, I spend 10% of my energy arguing with these pundits and commentators, and it takes it away from my boxing. So I just rather focus on my boxing, and maybe when my career's all said and done, I might just go back and correct them all.
Given that there are a lot of opinions around, you know, there's always comparisons as well. And is that difficult to take on board when people start comparing you to people?
Yes and no. So the comparison and the opinions is obviously two different things. The comparison, I don't like it because it's just instantly with boxing. It's like if a fighter comes through, it's like the best way I can describe it is he is like a Muhammad Ali but lightweight, or he is a Mike Tyson but this, and it's like I want to kind of create my own style, where it's like people aren't comparing me to Muhammad Ali or to Mike Tyson or to Anthony Joshua or whatnot. It's just like I want to be myself. Like Anthony Joshua had his career, Muhammad Ali had his career, Mike Tyson had his career. They're all amazing. They all had amazing career, and obviously Anthony Joshua still has. But it's like I want to make my own career. So like, am I a bad person for that? And with the opinions, like, boxing is very opinionated, and I don't mind that because there's nothing like, so football, you know, a goal in the back of the net, that's a goal. You're 1-0 up. But in boxing, it's not that simple. Like, everything's opinionated, and that's why even when I see they're trying to generate AI into boxing, it's kind of hard because it doesn't account for decision making. So when it comes to like opinions, like how do you score a fight? You get two judges and they're like, yeah, I think he won, and the other judge might be like, yeah, I think he won. So even just the sole thing of judging the fight is opinionated. So I'm not really getting too fussed on that, and that's why. I mean, I try not to let it go the distance so the opinions can't get involved. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think the boxing world is getting a bit fed up of these boxing matches ending so quickly?
Do you know what? If I had £1 for every time someone told me to say, make your fights go a little bit longer, I could probably buy a few things. It's like one of them things, it's like a catch-22. Like, obviously, I don't like them when they go 1 or 2 rounds, because like from my last fight against Dillian Whyte, I was in training camp for 14 weeks, killing myself on a treadmill. Like I had my knuckles are scarred, I had a black eye, I've had concussions, I've had everything. So I'm like, I want I want to kind of show you guys like what I'm capable of. And obviously Dillian Whyte couldn't make it out the first round, but I was just like, I was like, for myself, I was like, I'm annoyed. So I've been in training camp for 14 weeks. Like I want like you like, at least to see my fitness. Like if you can't see anything else, like I'm fit. Do you know what I mean? So I was just like, it was more so like, I do get annoyed, but at the same time, it's like there's no need to stay in the ring to get or to receive punishment. Because every like I think boxing, and I might say MMA to a certain point, it's the only time a fighter leaves with less than he came in. Which meaning like every punch takes a toll on the body. And obviously in a sport where boxing and MMA, it's like there's a lot of damage and impact on a fighter's well-being.
Was it frustrating when you reached the point where you knew you couldn't be the youngest heavyweight champion?
Yeah, it was very frustrating, but I kind of knew from the first like couple months of me turning professional, I knew that me trying to beat Mike Tyson's record wasn't in my hands. It was in the hands of the general public. It was in the hands of my managers, my promoters, and XYZ. So it wasn't really up to me. And like, I was very annoyed because I felt like now my words like lost a little bit of value, because like I wanted to be a type of person, if I say that I'm gonna go do something, I want to go and do it. But obviously like, it's a bit harder when I'm not in control. So these are like one of the things where it's like I've made the mistake and I've learned from it. So just with that, I was just like, I learned from it, but it's no biggie. I'm hearing it.
Absolutely.
So to cut you off, but it's just one thing that I kind of obviously kind of known is like, I was aiming for the stars. I didn't get there, but I'm somewhere in a round. Obviously, I was aiming for that Mike Tyson record. I didn't get it, but it landed me a Dillian Whyte fight. So I don't see no harm in having big ambitions.
You mentioned the Dillian Whyte fight. Has that been the big shift in not being able to go out without being recognised?
Yeah, that was like kind of annoying, because it's like I like my Nando's, so it's not like I don't mind being recognised and I don't mind taking pictures, but like obviously sometimes like some people might take a seat at my table when I'm trying to eat, and it's a little bit like kind of like trying to eat my chicken wings, you know what I mean? So it gets annoying, but obviously you got to take the good with the bad. You got to take the good with the bad, and like I don't mind a little bit of fan interaction.
What is in plan for you now? So for the rest of the year and coming up next year, what do you want to happen?
What I want to happen and what can happen will be two different things. Obviously, if it's up to me, I'd want to get one more fight in before the year closes. But if not, then we just roll up and we get another fight early next year. Being in my position is very difficult, because fighters can like take an easier fight and bounce back from it from the same amount of money. So I don't think they would look down my way. It's like fighters are gonna be having to be paid like double or triple, because like after you lose to me, it's like, damn, you lost to a 20-year-old. It's like, what's much left for you? So so it's kind of a catch-22 with these lot, but that's a job from my promoters.
When do you think Usyk will come up?
Do you know what? That's a question I get asked a lot. When you're gonna fight Usyk, but like it honestly isn't down to me. Like if it was up to me, I'd fight him next. But it's like it's not down to me. It's down to the promoters, and it's got to make sense commercially as well. So I don't think for his sake, I don't think it's commercially kind of good. But if it was up to me, it would be Usyk. But if not, then, you know, sometime.
With regards to the British boxing scene, you know, a lot of the economy is really suffering at the moment. The British boxing scene is doing pretty well right now.
It's booming.
Yeah.
It's booming. I wouldn't say that's because of like just all of a sudden. I think there's a lot of hard work, and I think Anthony Joshua has to get a round of applause for that, because I didn't. I didn't mean like literally around like, but anyways. So the reason why I say that is because like I think he kind of brought British boxing back. I think that era where Anthony Joshua wasn't fighting, I think boxing as a sport was kind of dying, and like I think he saved boxing twice on 2 occasions. Just him being like obviously himself, and also like I think obviously beating Francis Ngannou shows that like you can't just rock up into boxing, put a pair of gloves on and fight the world champions. Like I think Anthony Joshua showed that you need to go through a whole Olympic cycle, the journeyman fights into obviously the big fights and XYZ. So Anthony Joshua's definitely played a huge role into that. And if you ask a lot of kids nowadays like why they got into boxing, they would likely say because of Anthony Joshua. So I think he's definitely had a big impact on the sport.
You met Ricky Hatton and knew him quite well.
Yeah.
You know, what impact did he have on your career?
So I actually had the pleasure of training in his gym alongside him. It was actually only a couple months ago. He is like, he's a very nice guy. He's a very nice guy, but it's always kind of seemed like he was missing that little bit of spark that he once got from fighting. But like, I mean, it's obviously my condolences go to him and his family. It's a sad thing that happened. Obviously, definitely the sport and the world definitely lost a legend. But I don't really know what much to say on that subject.
You've spent a lot of time though with the other heavyweights in the UK. Are you friends?
My friends, what do you consider friends?
Do you eat Nando's together?
Maybe not Nando's, but yeah. So obviously, me and Anthony Joshua, we have the same trainer. So when he is in the gym, I do get to pick his brains on a few things. I think the person I was able to kind of learn the most of was definitely Tyson Fury. I spent 3 camps with him, 1 in Morecambe, 1 in Saudi Arabia, and 1 in Malta. And just like yes, it was good to spar and share the ring with him, but just to like ask him questions about like life, about religion, about different places, about relationships and XYZ, I think that was more of a blessing, because I think there's a quote, it's like a great man learns from his mistakes. No, a good man learns from his mistakes, but a great man learns from others. And like, I'm able to be in access with all these different peoples, like Anthony Joshua, like Tyson Fury and so on. Like, it would be kind of like silly for me to not ask them for their opinion and their advice.
What difference did it make when you met Ben Davison?
It made a lot. It made a lot, because I think one of the things with me, I know boxing kind of is a big part of my personality, and like Ben kind of helped me rekindle that relationship back with boxing. Like when I was training with my amateur coaches, and like there's a big difference between amateur boxing and professional boxing, which we was all unaware of because we was all kind of learning the job. But like, I kind of knew that it was like I'm working harder, but things are also getting harder. So I was just like, why is that? So I decided to like kind of try out like 4 different coaches, world level top class coaches, and it's just something just still kind of wasn't clicking. And then I remember I was just like, I didn't really want, I wasn't a fan of Ben when I first met him because he has like a kind of stigma, but I was just like, there's no harm in like trying Ben out. And I remember I rocked up to the gym, and like he's got like glass doors, and I remember like looking through the glass door, and Ben's got like my fights up like on the screen, and he's making notes, and I'm like, okay, like none of the other trainers have done this. And then I was just like, when I was shadow boxing, like I was like shadow boxing, laughing, talking, haha, he, and Ben was like, shadow boxing is actually a drill that needs to be taken seriously. So I was like, cool. And what I just noticed is like with the other trainers, they taught me how to punch. I'm like, I've been boxing for like over 10 years. Like, I know how to punch. But like Ben, what the difference was with Ben is like he told me when to punch, and that was kind of the deciding factor. Which Ben was like, okay, he does things a little bit different, and then yeah, he's just kind of like opened my mind up to like this chess game of boxing, and then like he's the first person to include video analysis. So like we record every sparring session, every fight, and we go back and we look over it. And I was just like this is something that I ain't seen no other trainer do. So I was just like, okay. Was there for the first week. Second week was also good. The next YZ, and then next thing you know, I never left. And then obviously I got to know Ben, and like he isn't the stigma that's around Ben. He's actually a nice guy, and I'm very happy I moved there because, like I said, like he rekindled that relationship back with boxing, which is a big part of my personality and life. So I definitely have to thank him for that as well.
When it comes to techniques and you're looking at other boxers, what have you taken from who that you really like?
This is actually one thing that I've learned from Ben. It's like every fighter is different, and you can't just look at one fighter and analyze that fight. So like, for example, when I'm fighting, and this is why it's so important to know who I'm fighting, is like, let's say we got a name, like Ben will tell me to watch this guy and study this guy and do this certain things that this guy does, and then I'll implement that into my career. It's like I've never boxed one way. Like I've always like kind of adapted to who's in front of me. So that's probably one trait I also got to thank Ben for. But if I can say what's one fighter that frequently comes up in my case studies, is Roberto Duran. I don't know if you guys know who Roberto Duran is, but one of the greatest fighters to ever walk this planet. So his fights kept coming up in my case study. So that's probably like, you have to say that he's one of the greatest fighters.
Ben's not the only member of your team. You have a wider team around you, and outside of the ring, those guys must be crucial to your success as well.
Of course.
How does it work outside the ring, and like what's life like with the team?
There's a lot of arguments. There's a lot of heated exchanges. Luckily, I'm not part of it. I just hear the tip of the iceberg, but there's a lot of back and forth, which is good, I guess. So yeah, that's probably like, if you're talking about organizing the fights and like the brand behind Moses Itauma, that's probably like credit to my brothers and Rav himself. But yeah, I just do the fighting bit, if I'll be honest.
What would you teach young people today about their mindset, about how they go for it?
So one thing that I've kind of learned in my short 20 years I've been on this earth is that life is only interesting once you follow curiosity. Like if you don't follow curiosity, you don't really work with much. So I'll probably always say stay curious, and not only to stay curious, is to also stay consistent. Because like I said, I wasn't the most talented fighter walking through the gym, but I managed to stay consistent, and that's why I'm here today. So I would say stay curious and stay consistent.
Now, we're going to change things up a little bit now, and we're going to be joined by Moses' brothers, Charles and Carol, and we're going to talk a bit about life outside the ring as well. So please put your hands together for Charles and Carol. You guys are running, you're not only working with Moses, but you guys are running businesses as well. What are you up to?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole business that sits behind, I think, every boxer, and I think, especially when it comes to things like the narrative that gets built about a fighter, we kind of think we're best placed to tell that story because like his story is dear to us, and we want to make sure that the correct story gets told and have control over that narrative. So we have like a media production company that we've put together, kind of talent management type of thing as well. But we also want to make sure that the money that gets made by the team gets invested in the right places as well. So we kind of like, there's 4 brothers in total. I'm the eldest brother, and then like there's one brother who's not here right now. So everyone has different expertise, and everyone's kind of responsible for different things. So obviously Moses is in the ring doing his thing. And the more that we can do to make sure he doesn't have to think about things outside of the ring, that's kind of our responsibility.
How many decisions do you make together? Is there, are you meeting all the time talking about things, or do you just kind of crack on and do your own things?
Yeah, obviously, it's important to discuss things, because at the end of the day, everything's about risk and reward. And sometimes if that doesn't add up, you just don't take them. Boxing is a sport where time is important. So yeah, when things do arise, it's about making sure that the right decisions get made. And at the end of the day, it's mainly down to my brother and obviously his coaching team.
So, with the answer to your question as well, there's especially with boxing, sometimes you might be in a meeting room and there's 12 names thrown at you, and I'm not in every meeting, so obviously I kind of put them to work, and they sit there and fight my corner for me. So obviously it is big to have a team. If I was there in every single meeting, then I would just get sick and tired of it. Even before my brother kind of got involved, it was me and Carol doing everything, and it was just such a headache. And he even said to me the other day, he was boy, I don't know how you did this before me. Do you know what I mean? So it does get stressful. And let's say, for example, there's 12 names on the table, they kind of filter it down to 3, and then I choose just out of them 3. So that's kind of how the decision making kind of gets played into it. But obviously in the boxing side, it's not just obviously me, my family, but it's also Ben Davison, Frank Warren and XYZ.
I was going to ask you about Frank and Francis. What have they brought to the game for you guys?
So Frank and Francis, they obviously work for or work part of Queen's Teamsbury, and Teamsbury's my promotional is my promoters, and they just kind of promote me, get my name out there. So there's a bigger role played than a lot of people think. A lot of fights don't make or don't happen because commercially they don't make sense. So just being able to have a big commercial backing just makes fights easier. So for example, Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, they'll probably be able to walk and fight anyone only because they got such a huge commercial backing, where someone like myself, they probably wouldn't just yet because I'm not as big as them names, and fighters wouldn't want to take that sort of fight because it's once you lose to me, it's kind of where would you go? Whereas with Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, they'll still be able to return back to what they're doing.
On the business side then, guys, it sounds like there's a lot of uncertainty. A lot of things are moving all the time. You've got a date, then you've not got a date, then you've got a fight or not a fight, and then the sponsor moves out. How do you deal with that uncertainty all the time?
I think the best way to put it is, I guess we see the risk that our brother takes in the ring, and when you see that risk and you see the things he has to overcome in training, because most likely you're going to go into a fight with some injuries, it kind of makes all other risks kind of not really, it diminishes the level of what that risk actually is. So we might go into a situation where we think we're going to have this potential fighter, and then that fighter pulls out, and then a load of things might have to get changed, a load of things might have to get scrapped, work might have to get done. What it's he's putting himself in the ring to actually take the major risk. So we just kind of have to make sure that we make sure everything outside the ring is almost robust enough to handle those changes, kind of thing. So.
And when you're training, obviously it's a pretty brutal regime, I guess you've got. How many days are you training? How many sessions are you doing right now?
So it kind of varies. So it depends on when I have sparring. So sparring it's just basically a fight, but you wear, instead of fighting in 10-ounce gloves, you wear 20s, and obviously as when you fight, you don't wear a head guard. Sorry. So obviously when we spar, we wear a head guard. So it just kind of, we work around sparring. And my normal training regimen like kind of consists of I train twice a day, every day apart from Sunday I rest. Saturday I train once. So I'll do 2 high intensity interval sprint sessions. I'll do 1 long run that's typically on a Saturday, which I might do either 10, 12, 15 or 20 kilometer run. Or during the week, every morning I have a boxing session, and in the afternoon I might have strength and conditioning, which is like weights, circuits, XYZ, or I might run.
When you're doing that, what are you guys up to?
Good question. Joking.
For me, it's obviously our brothers competing on the boxing scene, and kind of like my role within the family is to ensure that whatever is made is invested smartly. Obviously, sports is notorious for obviously youngsters spending a lot of capital and then coming down to the end of the career and they've got nothing to show for it. So what we kind of spoke about and emphasized the importance on is making sure that funds are made and invested smartly. So we kind of started that off with in residential property, acquiring and completing on 3 projects within like 13 months. And now we're taking a slight pivot into care sector, so acquiring care homes, providing children care homes as well. And we're kind of in the very early stages of that, but it's important to learn about it, how it works before actually going into it. But that's where we're at the moment. Obviously, you can speak more about the management side.
And then when he's training or when he's fighting, there's all these different components that you have to make sure are running the right way. So for example, the promoter has their own agenda, but then as the individuals closer to the boxer, we have our own agenda. So for example, you might hear a lot in the media, how do we get Moses Itauma rounds? But then if the ambition to make the Mike Tyson world record is now gone, then there's no need for us to rush this anymore. So the promoter might have something which is extremely commercially viable for them, but it doesn't quite fit in our boxing development plan. So you have to have those conversations and arguments and try and keep them on track for what's best for the fighter, whilst also trying to be as commercially viable as possible. And then outside of that as well, as I said, we have the media production company. My background is tech, so I have a tech company as well. And our other brother who's not here, he was working full time for that tech business. So we kind of just have like different businesses that feed each other and like ensure that we develop the right way.
Guys, thank you so much. This has been absolutely brilliant. Could you please put your hands together for them? Moses, Carol, and Charles. Now. So we have a little competition now, and we have 4 signed boxing gloves up for grabs for those folks who can ask really good questions. Does anybody have a question they'd like to ask? Have we got another mic anywhere, or can we? Yeah, just take mine. Okay, so we've got one question over here. You can probably I think probably everyone will hear you. Go on.
Yeah, so
just stand up. Yeah.
Yeah. My question of kind of reconciled back to what you said earlier about, good men, yes, learns from his mistakes, and great man learns from others. And having dealt with probably a few hundred family offices, with your brothers and with your team, how you guys are building Empire, are you bringing in independent advisors also to learn from other great people as you build these businesses and make these investments?
I think fortunately, because I have like a tech company, I think one of the main things in that space is don't try to do something you're not an expert at. So then definitely leverage the advice and the expertise of others. So the only thing that we always try to make sure we do is negotiate the right relationship with people, but the actual information is invaluable. We don't try to like be experts in things we're not, for sure.
Quick question. So I'm obviously American. Boxing is much bigger in Britain to me. This is just my opinion. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's much bigger here than it is in the United States. And it sucks because it should be big in the U.S. and it hasn't been for a long time. Maybe since I was a kid, I'm not that young. So I'm asking you guys, how are you guys going to bring it to the international stage? How are you going to grow your fan base? How internationally? How are you going to make it big like it was?
I don't want to be disrespectful, but there ain't that many good heavyweights in America anymore, so that probably makes a good part of it. I think the reason why boxing is so big in the UK, because not only did Anthony Joshua kind of like bring it back, but there's just so many great heavyweights. Like, if you're talking about the top 20 best heavyweights in the world, you can probably say like 11 or 12 of them are going to be from the UK. So I think you lot got to produce some better heavyweight fighters, I guess.
Okay.
What do you think you'll be when you're 30?
What do I want? Like I said, what I want to be and what I probably will be. Retired, probably. I don't know, like, be bold isn't, sorry, bad joke. I don't know, somewhere like, I still kind of want to, I love, the one thing I love about boxing is kind of being in touch with reality. What I mean by that is like, let's say after my fight, if I go for 3 weeks, I go non-stop partying, drinking, whatever. Like, once I get back to training, I'm going to really see those 3 weeks. And like, I don't think I can be like bothered to kind of keep resetting. So I just like being in that constant touch of reality. So I think I'd want to be somewhere in boxing. Might become a trainer. I don't know. I think 30 years old for me is like kind of too far to look ahead to kind of say. I'm not saying it's nothing bad, but that's like where do I see myself in 10 years? It's like God knows, but hopefully retired somewhere.
I'm Nigerian also, and I think it's brilliant what you guys are doing as a family, in the sense that sometimes a curse in our community can be that you have one superstar, they don't spread the wealth, and they make for very poor generational progression. And it's great that you guys aren't doing that. You're building up your asset column in different areas. But what else does good generational progression look like to you guys?
I guess if you have a generational progression as a goal, it will impact and influence the decisions that you make. And I won't necessarily say that generational impact is our goal, but one thing I definitely think that we all understand as a family is the strength that we have collectively. And I think even when making boxing decisions, for example, I lived by myself, like my brothers lived in Kent, and then like Moses was driving up and down, for example, like 2 hours each way every day to go to training. So when we decided to kind of make this family collective, we think, okay, how do we optimize this and how do we stay together? Because that's quite important. So we live together. And then, and kind of like you see like a lot of Asian communities do, they'll get places and they'll live together and then they'll slowly build. And that's kind of, we're just kind of like taking that same principle, like stay together, stay connected, learn from each other. And I ask my brothers, I make sure that if I'm doing something that's not quite right, I want them to pay attention to what I'm doing, to be able to say, right, you didn't do that properly. And then we do the same, and then we'll do the same thing for each other, brothers. So it's more so just keeping an eye on each other, staying together and building slowly, really, and then see where that takes us.
You speak like you've lived a lot of life, so my question to you is, where did you get your wisdom from?
One of the things that I've had to really implement was reading books. Like, I felt like I hated reading books when I started, like, but I realized that I was reading the wrong books. Like, it's only until I came across 50 Cent's book, where it was Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. Right at the beginning of the book, he mentioned like some people are gonna think that like reading is a chore, but it's not. Like, there's so much wisdom in the books, and it's like someone might walk past this book and not actually know anything about it because they've been told from school that this is like kind of a chore. So it's like only until like I kind of finished reading his book, like I just kind of went on to all the other books, and like one of them as well was podcasts. Like my brother mentioned, I was driving 2 hours to training, 2 hours back. Sometimes you get bored of listening to music, so just like subconsciously when you're listening to a podcast, you might hear something or whatnot. So I think it's definitely like collective, but I know for sure it's definitely the brotherhood I got. Like there's a lot of times like me and Charles will be me and Charles will be like driving, and like I might say something, and then boom, it's just started off a 2-hour discussion. So it's definitely the brotherhood and everything. And like I gotta say, getting off Instagram, to be honest, because Instagram just be killing people's attentions and time. So I don't even have Instagram on my phone. So one thing is like just like being off Instagram, it just frees up so much time to actually learn something. So yeah, I'll probably say get off social media. I don't know.
Okay, very
What's the hardest part of being a young fighter in the spotlight?
See, I'm not a rude person, and like I've seen how other fighters deal with like the media and general public, but like I probably would say that it's like you kind of have to sacrifice a bit of your privacy and security on like numerous occasions. Like I've just been like, even like for example, the other day, yeah, I was stressed out. I had so much stress just going on, so I decided to rock up to the gym, and it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and like a guy like he just wanted to come and congratulate me like for my fight. But just like in my mind, I was like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. What's needed to be said? But I still like remained polite and whatnot, and I just wanted to like release some anger on my lap pull downs. So, and I was just like at 4 o'clock in the morning, like you really, do you know what I mean? But obviously, like I said, I still stayed like respectful. But I probably would say that it's just the fact that like I never, do you know, it's like I don't ever want to be like, I have a bad interaction with this guy at 4 o'clock in the morning. Now he goes back and he tells his friends, Moses Itauma, he is where he is. And then like now his friends go off and tell him that Moses Itauma, do you get what I mean? And now all of a sudden I've got like a group of people hating me for no reason, do you get what I mean? But like I probably would say like being like in the general public.
It's a very simple question, but are there like any highlights you've enjoyed throughout your boxing career so far, and is there anything you look forward to?
Oh, I'm glad you said that. My Dempsey McKean knockout, that was my favourite one. Yeah, he's not there. My Dempsey McKean knockout, that was probably like my favourite one. The reason why I say that is not only because of like how, it's not only the reason why like how I've done it and how I knocked it out, it's just the fact that I turned everybody into an expert. I was like, oh, you see, Moses, he done that, and then, do you know what I mean? And everyone's telling me how I done it, but obviously, I know, like, I've done it myself, so like, I'll probably, and like, I think, like, that's the knockout where people are like, he ain't like anyone else. Like, he didn't knock someone out like Mike Tyson, or he didn't knock someone out like Tyson Fury, or he didn't knock someone out like Lennox Lewis. Like, that was a Moses Itauma knockout. So, I probably would say the Dempsey McKean knockout, only because it kind of it separated my personality from other people's.
Do you ever disagree on anything? How do you reconcile it if you do?
What, me and my brothers?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Oh my gosh, it's just like sometimes we'd be not arguing, we'd be debating for over 2 hours. And like, there's no solid answer. We're just like, let's agree to disagree. Like, yes, but the reason why I say that as well is because life experiences. Like, if I'm coming to my brothers for advice about their field, they'll probably be able to tell me. But like, for example, if they've asked me for something and I'm like, no, like in boxing, like this is how it works, or in media, this is how it works, and I'm like, I'm able to say that because like I've lived this. But sometimes, yeah, we obviously, you know, a lot of times we have disagreements, but I mean, that's fine. Like, everybody's had a different path, so yeah.
And I just wondered whether, you know, if you think about, you know, our friend AI, whether there's a role in there to, when you're looking at a new boxer or a new opponent, whether there's some way of using the technology, you know, to figure out a game plan, you know? So
I think I touched on this a little bit earlier. yes and no. Like, I remember speaking to my trainer, who also does the video analysis, and Usyk actually made like a kind of AI computer. I think it's like Team 10 or something like that. And he's kind of like trying to integrate AI with boxing, but like boxing is such an opinionated sport. Like you can, I guess, to a certain extent, but it's like, I don't really know how to explain it. But it doesn't, I know AI doesn't account for decision making, which is only like something that I guess humans like can do to a human level. Exactly.
When you refine it to a specific thing, like say boxing, you have to train it on boxing data, don't you? So maybe if that data is all in boxers' heads, and you know, maybe that's too hard to shout.
I think one thing I'll say about that is all the boxers that I've come across so far, trust is like incredibly important. There could be a trainer that's better than another trainer, but you'll go with the trainer you trust. So it would be, I guess the question would be, how do you make boxers trust AI? That would be the question, kind of thing, because if it's advantageous, they'll probably use it, but how would you actually bridge that gap to actually being able to trust like a machine, something like that?
We've had some great questions tonight. Guys, would you like to give some prizes out? Who had the best question, do you think?
He's definitely had a good question.
Okay. There we go.